Hello, everyone, and welcome again to our Privacy Sandbox for Publishers series. This is our webinar 2. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed and you found webinar 1 yesterday to be incredibly informative. My name is Kunal Guha. I'm the Director of Privacy Partnerships for Asia Pacific. I'm going to start with a very brief refresher on what we discussed during webinar 1. What is the Privacy Sandbox? It is 100% open source and collaborative initiative where we are committed to maintaining user privacy by default through a depth of collaboration with the industry in the testing and trialing of our privacy enhancing technologies, which is a series of 20 APIs. It is our goal to ensure that we protect user privacy as well as enable a healthy digital ecosystem and economy. We're moving away from a world that has been highly dependent on identifiers as the critical infrastructure of the internet into a future privacy-first world where we are able to continue to transact at the digital economy level whilst ensuring user privacy by default through privacy-preserving APIs. All of the APIs that we have shared with you are now generally available as of August of 2023. This means that you and your businesses can already start testing, trialing, and implementing these APIs. In January of 2024, we will begin to phase out 1% of the third-party cookie. And then in close consultation with the CMA authorities, we will begin to phase out third-party cookies entirely, starting Q3 of 2024. On Android, stay tuned for more information from us in the new year, where we'll be able to share with you a similar roadmap that we will build out on the mobile ecosystem. With that, please allow me to introduce you to my colleague, Shu, who will share with you the ads APIs for Privacy Sandbox. Shu, over to you.
Hi, I'm Shu Hirasaka from the Privacy Partnerships teams at Google. I'm based in Japan. Today, I'll cover the 3 main ads APIs of Privacy Sandbox and the next steps for you. For the privacy-enhancing advertising solutions, we expect that Privacy Sandbox will be one of the building blocks and not a standalone solution on its own. Building a more private internet requires innovation from across the industry. We expect that companies will use Privacy Sandbox in combination with other privacy-safe signals, including first-party data and contextual signals. Now, let's dive into a bit deeper the 3 main advertiser-focused APIs that we are developing for Chrome and Android. Publishers have 2 key APIs to focus on in terms of the upcoming test modes in Q1 of 2024, ad relevance via topics and protected audience APIs. Okay, I'll cover topics API first. Topics provides a way to deliver privacy-enhancing interest-based advertising. Essentially, the user's browser converts a person's site visitation history into high-level topical interest. These are available from within the browser, allowing ad tech companies to create or advance third-party segments to expand reach and leverage the scale of literally billions of Chrome users. The likely testers of or integrators of these APIs will be SSPs who integrate and pass topics in a bid request to DSPs. With topics, user's browser or Android device determines a handful of categories that represent their top interest based on the websites, which will be apps in case of Android, that they frequented recently. For example, if a user often visits cooking sites or cooking apps on Android with vegetarian recipes that use the Topics API, the browser or the user's device would associate that website or the app with a certain topic, such as vegetarian cuisine. A week or two later, when the user visits another participating site or app, you may be able to show them an ad for your restaurant. If your outtake provider has implemented that API, so it can match the user with the relevant topic. Topics API will not be only one way you can reach your audiences. Instead, topics will serve as just one of many signals that your outtake providers could offer to support interest-based advertising, amongst others, such as contextual information, so that you can continue to drive business results in a privacy-enhancing way. Protected audience is Chrome's proposal to support remarketing and customer audiences. Some of you may know the protected audience as the API formerly known as Fledge. The likely testers or integrators of these APIs will be DSPs and SSPs who coordinate on-device auctions. These auctions happen without revealing the user's site history to any external party. Let's say you own a travel website or a travel app, and you work with an outtake partner who uses that protected audience API. A user visits your website or app and checks out beach vacations, for example. Using the protected audience API, the user's browser or Android device is added to an interest group with others interested in beach vacations as well. And then later, when the user visits a site or app that uses an outtake partner who has also adopted protected audience, the browser hosts an on-device auction where the outtake company can choose which ad will serve based on their bid, the ad relevance or other criteria. If it wins the auction, the ad for your beach vacation is displayed and the results are reported while the user's information stays on their own device and remains private. Today, ad conversion measurement often relies on third-party cookies. Browsers are restricting access to third-party cookies because these can be used to track users across site and hinder user history, user privacy. The Attribution Reporting API enables those measurements in a privacy-preserving way without third-party cookies. This API measures the effectiveness of ads. When an ad is clicked or viewed, that leads to a conversion. The likely testers or integrators of these APIs will be DSPs, SSPs, and measurement providers. The API allows the measurement of two events that are linked together. For example, the ability to measure user actions such as interaction where an ad click or view leads to a conversion, like a purchase on advertiser site, without using cross-site identifiers. Two main types of conversion reports. The first one is event level reports, which is more granular at the event level. The other type is aggregated or summary reports that look at information at aggregated level, plus other indicators like what may be in the shopping cart. So these types of reports are designed to be used individually, but they can also be used together as they are complementary. And how do we do this in a private enhancing way? The event level reporting has limited data, but these reports also leverage what we call PETs, privacy enhancing technologies, such as differential privacy, adding statistical noises and other encryption techniques with the aim to reduce the risk of identity being joined across sites. And just to remind the audience today, for the advertising relevance and measurement APIs, we expect mainly our tech providers to integrate the current technologies in general availability. So as a publisher, what actions can you take today? To have better visibility of companies participating in future tests of Privacy Sandbox technologies, it is recommended that you review the tester list within GitHub for each of the APIs. In these lists, you can verify the role that each company has in the test, as well as its planned calendar, publish the results, and contact information. The lists were created specifically to facilitate the coordination of tests between different parties of interest. So looking ahead, it is advisable to follow the following steps. Step number 1, contact your SSPs to understand in more detail their testing plans and the necessary steps to be included in their testing. Step number 2, update your pre-bid core to version 8.9 or higher to enable topics and protected audience APIs for testing. Step number 3, depending on the SSP, it will also be necessary to update your corresponding bid adapter to be able to receive bids from protected audience. And then finally, it is necessary to add the protected audience module to configure the different SSPs. So with these updates, publishers enable the use of topics as well as remarketing and audience groups through protected audience on their pages. Now, as a reminder, we've also rolled out the new ad privacy controls in Chrome that allow people to customize what ad topics they're interested in, what relevance and measurement APIs they want enabled, and more. You can view these controls by in Chrome setting and by visiting settings, privacy and security, add privacy controls in Chrome. Now I'll hand over to my colleague Crystal, who will go through the privacy APIs.
Hello, everyone. I'm Crystal, based in Singapore, and I'm from the Privacy Partnerships team at Google, taking care of Southeast Asia. I'll be walking you through 3 of our privacy APIs for anti-covert tracking and cross-site boundaries, how they work, and how you can get involved. Our goal of the Privacy Sandbox is to reduce cross-site tracking while still enabling the functionality that keeps online content and services freely accessible by everyone. deprecating and removing third-party cookies encapsulates the challenge as they enable critical functionality across sign-in, fraud protection, advertising, and generally the ability to embed rich third-party content in your sites. But at the same time, they're also the key enablers of cross-site tracking. In our previous major milestone, we launched a range of APIs providing a privacy-focused alternative to today's status quo for use cases like identity and fraud detection. There are specific scenarios where we want to ensure we do not break the experience for people using those sites. With alternatives in place, we can now move on to begin phasing out third-party cookies. Now, let's dive a bit deeper on the 4 APIs that might be relevant for your organization. CHIPS is about integrating with external services. This API may be relevant for use cases where you have third-party chat embeds, third-party map embeds, third-party payment embeds, and other scenarios. Related website sets is about websites with multiple domains. For example, app-specific domains, brand-specific domains, or country-specific domains, to name a few relevant use cases. User agent client hints is about new technologies for capturing user data. And federated credential management, or FedCM, enables federated identity services, allowing users to sign in to sites and services. I'll now explain each of them in more details. Let's start with CHIPS, which stands for Cookies Having Independent Partition States. CHIPS is definitely applicable across a wide range of circumstances and is largely for embedded use cases. Let's look at that in more details. On the current version of the web, with unpartitioned third-party cookies, SaaS providers can access cookies in many different contexts. In this example, the site retail.example may want to work with a third-party service, support.chat.example, to embed a support chat box on its site. Many embeddable chat services today rely on cookies to save interaction history. In another example, you'll see here, Embed C could be a mapping provider that sets my preferred store location on site A, but then when I navigate to site B, that same mapping provider embedded there may know my location. Embed C needs to be able to store information in cookies, but doing that today would allow C to track users across sites. With CHIPS, C is declaring that it's not trying to use cookies from that shared cookie jar on the left. Instead, as seen on the right, it now has partitioned or isolated cookie jars per top-level site. This is done via a double key partition, which creates cookie jar AC. C can continue to offer its functionality without being able to track users now, so that way, when the user navigates to site B, there is a new partition cookie jar BC. So, if CHIPS is a thing you need, we recommend you to explore this capability for your organization. If you want to give feedback, please do so on the CHIPS GitHub repository. Next, let's talk about related website sets. Related website sets helps you when a user journey is spread across multiple websites that require a deep integration through technologies like third-party cookies. As third-party cookies go away, Chrome is focused on making sure that users are not being tracked across sites. However, Chrome recognizes that organizations rely on third-party cookies to maintain critical web experiences for users. Obvious use cases are examples like country code top-level domains, whereby let's say an Indonesian user of example.id would want to be able to make use of the international example.com site without restrictions. Let's look at how that use case is enabled through related website sets. At a very high level, related website sets is a list of sites that browsers can use to make exceptions to privacy restrictions such as third-party cookie blocking. Site owners can list out their related domains in subsets of a larger first-party set. Subsets are key. They define use cases or reasons for domains being in a specific set and being able to share state. The first subset, which I've already mentioned, is the country code top-level domain, or CCTLD. The country code subset requires common ownership of domains, and companies can add an unlimited number of country code CCTLD domains. Second subset is called the service subset. Service subset is for utility domains that serve content like example-cdn.com. There will not be any user interaction on these sites. For service subsets, companies will be able to add an unlimited number of service domains. And the third type of subset is known as the associated subset. This is for domains that are related to the primary domain but have a different root like example-shop.com. It requires clear presentation to users, and there is a limit of 5 domains. Counting in the primary domain example.com, this means you can have 6 different domains in your set. Each subset has different requirements with the goal of giving more flexibility for different types of domains. The process of creating a related website set is fairly straightforward. It begins with the set owner compiling the set of domains they want to add and submitting it to GitHub. Then, there's a series of automatic checks that ensure that the submission rules for the subsets are followed. The most important part to note is the final stage, which requires developers to use the Storage Access API. In Chrome, these calls will be automatically granted for same set members without user prompts. Different subsets have different rules. You can check out the full details in GitHub. Related website sets is now rolled out to 100% of Chrome stable and is fully live in production. Sites can also test with submitting sets to begin evaluating how they may want to create their site boundaries. In the meantime, we'd love to hear from you about your use cases and ideas around related website sets. Now, onto our third privacy API, User Agent Client Hints. Before we get into UACH, let's talk about the user agent string as a background. Generally, when a user accesses a website, a request is sent from the web server side asking for information about the user. And upon receiving the request, the browser automatically passes a user agent string containing information about the user, such as the device, OS, language, and browser version used by the user to the web server side. And based on this information, the web server may customize the way the site is displayed to the user. However, depending on how this information is combined, it is granular enough to identify individual, which has been a problem from the standpoint of privacy protection. To address this concern, we have decided to reduce the amount of information provided in the user agent string. The information highlighted in green, such as OS name, browser name, whether mobile or desktop, etc., will continue to be retrieved. The information highlighted in pink, such as OS version, device information, and minor browser version information, will be fixed to a certain value and can no longer be retrieved. What we mean by fixed is that we know that the OS is Android, but whatever the version is, it will be displayed as 10. Similarly, it will display K no matter whether the device is an iPhone or a Google Pixel. The browser version will also be 0.0.0 no matter what the minor version is, although the major version can be retrieved. This information reduction is completed, and you should see this change reflected. If you need information that has been reduced in the user agent string, you can obtain it by migrating to the newly developed User Agent Client Hints API. As you can see, the amount of information has been reduced in the user agent string on the left. The right side uses user agent client hints API, and by sending a request for each piece of information, you can continue to retrieve the information that was reduced in the user agent string. User agent client hints allow developers to request the user agent information they need instead of getting all information by default. To get much of that information, websites and services will need to transition to the user agent client hints API, which provides the way to request only information they need and is a good privacy practice today and the pattern we want to set for the future. The fourth API I want to discuss is FedCM, or Federated Credentials Management. FedCM has a specific focus, which is federated identity. So what is federated identity? Federated identity, in short, means having an identity provider that shares information about the user with one or more websites called relying parties. In most cases, a user has an account at the identity provider and the information shared with the website for login. This type of login is definitely something that helps user. It avoids the proliferation of usernames and passwords and really should be part of the web. However, it's often built on technologies that enable tracking like third-party cookies. It will be great if browsers had a way to distinguish valid federated identity flows. And that's where FedCM comes in. FedCM mediates the exchange of information between the user, site, and identity provider to ensure that the user is informed and has the opportunity to provide consent. This is what these prompts look like for FedCM. They are very similar to what users are used to seeing when they try to log in with federated services. However, with the new API, identity is federated, so user identities cannot be linked. While the mock shows Google as the identity provider, any identity providers like Facebook, Twitter, or your organization's login can be used as long as they implement the relevant endpoints required by the FedCM API. FedCM is live and has been available in Chrome since last year, so do try it out if you have a use case for it. The team is also iterating on future improvements and would love to get your feedback in the Federated Identity Community Group of the W3C. So, who will test and implement the corresponding privacy APIs? For the technologies I just spoke about, we expect a wide array of stakeholders to implement, and that includes publishers. Now, how should you prepare for third-party cookie phase-out? We've broken the process down into a few key steps, starting with auditing your third-party cookie usage. Third-party cookies can be identified by their same-site equal none value. You should search your code to look for instances where you set the same-site attribute to this value. If you've previously made changes to add same-site equal none to your cookies around 2020, then those changes may provide a good starting point. The Chrome DevTools Network panel shows cookies set and sent on request. In the application panel, you can see the cookies hitting under storage. You can browse the cookies stored for each site accessed as part of the page load, and you can sort by the same site column to group all the non-cookies. From Chrome 118, the DevTools Issues tab shows the breaking change issue. Cookies sent in cross-site context will be blocked in future Chrome versions. The issue lists potentially affected cookies for the current page. If you identify cookies set by third parties, you should check with those providers to see if they have plans for the third-party cookie phase-out. Next, test for breakage. You can launch Chrome using the test third-party cookie phase-out command line flag, or from Chrome 118, enable Chrome flags test third-party cookie phase-out. This will set Chrome to block third-party cookies and ensure that new functionality and mitigations are active in order to best simulate the state after the phase-out. If you maintain an active test suite for your sites, then you should do 2 side-by-side runs, one with Chrome on the usual settings and one with the same version of Chrome launched with the test third-party cookie phase-out flag. Any test failures in the second run and not in the first are good candidates to investigate for third-party cookie dependencies. Once you have identified the cookies with issues and understand the use cases for them, you can work through the following options to pick the necessary solution. So, how do you report issues with third-party cookies and get help? Well, we want to ensure we are capturing the various scenarios where sites break without third-party cookies to ensure that we have provided guidance, tooling, and functionality to allow sites to migrate away from their third-party cookie dependencies. If your site or service you depend on is breaking with third-party cookies disabled, you can submit it to our breakage tracker at goo.gle/report-3pc-broken. To summarize, please evaluate and take the following actions to prepare for third-party cookie phase-out in Chrome. 1. Audit your third-party cookie usage. 2. Test for breakage. 3. For cross-site cookies which store data on a per-site basis, like an embed, consider partition with chips. 4. For cross-site cookies across a small group of meaningfully linked sites, consider related website sets. And lastly, for other third-party cookie use cases, migrate to the relevant Privacy Sandbox APIs. I hope this was useful to equip you with the next steps to ensure you're prepared for your site to run without third-party cookies. I will now hand it back to Kunal.
Thank you, Chriselle and Shu. With this, we hope you, everyone who has joined us, have begun to learn more about the technical nuance of the APIs, both from an ads API perspective, as well as from a general privacy APIs perspective. I'm going to summarize this session for all of us. Number one, what are the ads APIs for Privacy Sandbox? There's a series of 3 APIs that allows for ads-based transactions across the full spectrum of the funnel, whether it be brand campaigns through the topic APIs, performance campaigns through the protected audiences APIs, and attribution reporting from a measurement of effectiveness and ROAS standpoint continues. In conjunction with the ads-based APIs, the general privacy APIs ensures that we are both protecting against anti-covert tracking, fingerprinting, as well as protecting against fraud and spam, and ensuring that we can allow for certain use cases where you do have relationships with a third-party provider, such as a Maps, such as a chatbot, to continue to thrive. And it's essential that a combination of the ads APIs and the general privacy APIs come together to solve for your domain and ensure that you're migrating into this privacy-first future. In a nutshell, the ads APIs is for you to work closely with your ad tech providers, the SSPs and the DSPs, so that they are enabling the technologies and you're able to test it with your traffic and your user base. The privacy APIs are for all of you who have domains to be able to work with your technology teams to test and learn and then implement at large scale all of the different use cases that are relevant to you and your domains. We welcome all of you all to join in the discourse through the GitHub forums to not only test and trial, but please provide feedback back to us so that we are able to capture that feedback and build it into our roadmaps. And this is an extremely important part of the Privacy Sandbox initiative. In summary, 3 key actions. Number 1, the Privacy Sandbox initiative is to address identifiers at their core, with the most guilty ones being cross-site cookie usage. Please begin to start auditing to ensure that we are helping you migrate to a world where you're not dependent on these identifiers. There are general privacy APIs that allow for you to maintain the integrity of a safe and private internet. Please begin to create your profile on GitHub and start testing and trialing the specific use cases that you need, and then ensure that you're able to implement it across all of your domains. And finally, ensure that all of these use cases that you've identified through the APIs that we're building address the needs. Make sure that you are validating that these use cases are working. We want and we need your feedback. We are here to help support you. The forums are there so that we can capture the feedback and then we can address them at the root. In summary, the wealth of information is all available on the web for you to access and your teams to access. Go to privacysandbox.com to learn more about the initiative. And for your tech and developer teams, go to developer.chrome.com. And then in the future, developer.android.com to be able to get the latest of the APIs and the tests and trials that we're enabling. Thank you for your time, your patience, your attentiveness to be with us through what is going to be the most important migration of the internet in our generation. I wanted to conclude by saying that we are here to help you. We are your partners through this migration, and we're committed to ensuring that you have the tooling and the APIs available so that you can migrate and then be able to drive growth and continuity for your businesses. On behalf of the entire Google team, thank you for your time.
Hello, everyone. My name is Madeline Oldfield, and I am the Head of Privacy Partnerships for the Australia and New Zealand market, and work with my wonderful colleagues across APAC. It's wonderful to be here joining the Korean publisher group today.
안녕하십니까? 네, 저는 현재 프라이버시에 있어서 호주와 뉴질랜드 담당을 맡고 있고, 그 다음에 에이펙 팀과도 함께 협력하고 있는 메들린이라고 합니다.
We hope you've enjoyed today's Privacy Sandbox webinar, and we really value your feedback about the session. We'd be interested to also hear whether future sessions would be helpful.
네, 오늘 개인정보보호 샌드박스 웨비나가 여러분들께 유익한 시간이 되셨기를 바라고요. 본 세션에 대한 여러분의 피드백을 저희는 굉장히 소중하게 생각을 합니다. 그래서 향후 세션도 과연 도움이 될지 여러분들의 의견이 듣고 싶습니다.
As you can see on your screen, there is a QR code. We would greatly appreciate if you could take the next minute to answer a few simple questions.
네, 그래서 보시는 것처럼 화면에 QR코드가 있습니다. 잠시 시간을 내주셔서 몇 가지 간단한 질문에 답변해 주시면 감사하겠습니다.
The recording of the videos will be available soon for viewing on this same website that you are viewing this session from. Please note that you will need to register to get access to the content.
네, 비디오 지금 녹화되고 있는 녹화본은 곧 공유가 될 예정이고요. 받아보시려면 리지스터 등록해 주셔야 되는 점 참고 부탁드리겠습니다.
Yeah. So if you work with your technical or website development team, I highly encourage you to get them to watch the videos so they can take the necessary steps to evaluate your website use cases versus the Privacy Sandbox APIs.
네, 그래서 테크팀이랑 웹사이트 개발자분들 꼭 이 비디오 참고하셔서 업무에 적용해 주시면 되겠습니다.
Yeah. And don't forget to check out privacysandbox.com and developer.chrome.com and developer.android.com for the most up-to-date information.
네, 그리고 방금 말씀해주신 여러 웹사이트들 꼭 참고해서 업데이트 사항 꼭 확인해 주시면 감사하겠습니다.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.
네, 다음번에 다시 만나 뵙기를 기대합니다. 감사합니다.